here is one of the ways you can actually use the workflow from Illustrator to AutoCAD, which we do often and is noted in the handout. Can do specific tasks, for example, if you're working with custom signage or if you want to make custom hardware. It's a really good way of, designing something in Illustrator, something that might be a little bit more loose than AutoCAD, and then bringing it into AutoCAD and being able to work with it, create construction documents off of it and fabrication documents, even get it laser cut if you prefer to use AutoCAD to set up those laser cutting files. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a little bit of text, and then we're going to export it as a DWG file and open it in AutoCAD, and you'll see what are the issues that happens whenever we bring something from Illustrator into AutoCAD. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my text tool, and I'm going to type in just something, and I am just going to take my my fill and my stroke, okay, and I'm just going to assign them colors. Okay, so I might be designing like this. That is my stroke, and I can change the size of my stroke, and then my fill, I'm just going to give it, let's say, a blue color. Okay, so it looks something like this. Now, there's some options with your text that you can do, in Illustrator to, work with the task, again, get the result that you want. For this, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go up to the warp, and I'm going to warp my text just to show you that you can start to work with it, and it'll bring also that effect into AutoCAD. So if I click on preview, you can see that there's many different types. There's an arc, there is a flag, there is fish eyes, anything like that. So you can actually put a lot of effects onto it. And what you can also do is you can work with more options, okay, in order to change it. Okay, so you can make something that's pretty distorted. Okay, that's really distorted. So to continue, I'm going to hit OK. Okay, and you'll see that I have this distorted text, and I'm going to go up to File and Export. Okay, and that's where you'll find it as a DWG file. And I'm just going to name that text test, and then export it, and it's going to give me some options. It should be fine, so you just hit OK, and then I'm going to open up my AutoCAD, and I'm going to go to File and Open, and I'm going to find that AutoCAD file that I created. And now you'll see that it actually brought in my text, okay, as essentially a block object. Now there are some times where if you're doing text, okay, and it doesn't come in correctly, so if it might come in as a text object, especially if you don't add an effect to it. If I create a new text, oops, cancel that, and export this, let's say text test 2. And open it up in AutoCAD. Okay, what happens is that this text that we added, okay, might come in as this generic text, okay, and if we don't add a warp to it or anything like that, that's what AutoCAD sees it as, okay, so it sees it as just a regular text to bring in, and we don't want that, okay, because now it doesn't really look like the text that we added. If you can see, it's a very different text. Okay, so in this case what we want to do is we want to actually go up to Type and create outlines. And so what that does is it basically takes it from a true text and then turns it into lines and fills. So now if we export this again, and I'm going to save over that other file. Oh, that's what I thought. So I'm going to go here, close that out, go back into Illustrator, now export this. Okay, and now open it up in AutoCAD. Okay, you'll see that now it shows up. Okay, so just keep in mind that when you do work like this, if you want to make a custom text and you don't do any effects to it, that in order to get it to look like what you have done in Illustrator, okay, especially, you know, if you're working with a text that Illustrator might have that AutoCAD doesn't, then what you have to do is you have to create the outlines. Now when I bring it into AutoCAD, you'll see that again, both of them, or whatever is in, you know, the Illustrator file is going to be inserted as essentially a block. Okay, and to be able to edit it, okay, I'm going to explode it just like I would to explode a block. Might have to do it a couple times. And here you can see that now it treats it with lines and fills. Okay, and essentially what that means is in AutoCAD, that's lines, you know, these objects on the outside, and then you have the hatch. Okay, so it turns whatever fill into a hatch, so that I could theoretically click on this, I could change the hatch of it. Okay, and I can change the properties of it. Now what you'll also find is that when you do work with it in other ways, every time you bring it into AutoCAD, okay, it's going to come in with the same properties as Illustrator. And if we're working with line drawings, we don't want that. Okay, and you'll see that when I click on it, okay, or click on the lines, you'll see up in the properties, this turns blank. Okay, and the way that we work, and the way we work as beginners, is we always want this to be by layer and by layer. Okay, now again, you know, because this is a special case, we might not want to work like that, but when we're bringing in line drawings, okay, that we might get from another source, from a PDF, you know, etc., in order for it to work with our drawings, okay, if, for example, if I'm making a sink or a toilet or something, what we want to do is with the line drawing, we want to select the objects and just make sure that everything is by layer up above here. Okay, or else it's going to come in looking as it did in Illustrator, and that's not going to graphically look okay. You know, again, if this is a sink or a toilet, you know, or something that's going to go into our plan drawings, it's not going to look okay compared to everything else. So, you know, you do have to keep a little bit of an eye on it, but it's a really good workflow from going to Illustrator into AutoCAD.